by sharing with you a story about John Paton. When John Paton went to the New Hebrides Islands, he went there in the midst of an epidemic. The natives, many who were cannibals, were going through a terrible time when white men's ships had arrived there and brought smallpox and things that caused epidemics. They were in the middle of an epidemic. John Paton arrived and began to get involved in helping the people, some who were dying, some who were struggling. He began to do all he could to work with them. After the epidemic passed, they were so endeared to John Paton that they gave him pretty much the run of everything, let him do whatever he needed to do. And he would walk around the island and he would carry a notebook, and every time he heard them say anything that he understood what they meant, he would write the words down so he could begin to get a language down so that he could begin to translate the Bible for them. But he could not find a particular word. He could not find a word for faith, for trust, for belief, because they didn't trust anybody. All they had seen were people that were untrustworthy. So they never had a word like that in their language. And one particular day, John Paton was sitting under a shade tree, and some men had gone, as a hunting party, had gone on a distant hunt, and had actually captured an animal about the size of a deer, drugged that thing all the way through the swamp areas, and brought it all the way back to that village, and got back to the village, dropped it in the middle of that encampment, and many of them came over to the shade tree he was at, and one of them lay down there near him and said, "It is so good to stretch out here under this shade." And John Paton jumped up and said, "What did you say? What was that word that you said?" He said, "It was so good to stretch out here under the shade." John Paton took that word, said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever stretches himself out upon Jesus will be saved." So it's all of who he is on the person of Christ, and trusts himself to Christ. That is the person who will be saved. Now this morning you may have